Trump's worst nightmare begins. Is Germany now signaling it could be at war with Russia at virtually any moment? Has a key NATO state just issued its strongest warning yet that a direct military clash with Russia is no longer unthinkable? Ready to fight tonight? Is Germany's Air Force chief beating the war drums against Putin in a way Europe has not heard for decades? Is NATO quietly panicking after Putin's latest sinister hints of invasion, as frontline allies brace for the worst? Berlin is ready to fight tonight against Moscow, the German Air Force chief has warned, signaling that the country is prepared for immediate conflict if Russia attacks a NATO state. The shocking development was reported by British newspaper The Telegraph on June 15th, highlighting how far Germany's public military rhetoric has shifted. Germany will defend every inch of NATO territory, the Air Force chief added, underscoring that any strike on an ally would trigger a full alliance response. Lieutenant General Holger Neumann said his forces would launch devastating airstrikes on Russia in such a scenario, making clear that German jets will be part of a rapid offensive campaign. An attack on Estonia would warrant the same response as an air raid on London, Neumann declared, stressing that small Baltic states and major Western capitals are treated equally under NATO's shield. He warned that the Kola Peninsula, Kaliningrad, and the Black Sea region would all suffer the wrath of NATO air power if Russia initiated hostilities. Neumann said, quote, "If it comes to a conflict, hopefully never, but if it does, we will defend every inch of our territory. I think this is an important message, especially for the High North and our Baltic allies. It must be clear, there are no zones of different security, that NATO is NATO, down to the last inch. I think we have to make a very strong effort to, in security terms, overwatch and, if required, act along certain regions. Fight tonight means if someone calls me now and says we have the following situation here, we have to be ready now, and we are ready. We will go in with everything we have in Germany, the Air Force, but also in NATO, to defend our country, our values, our population, and our alliance." Unquote. The Air Force chief's comments are among the strongest made by a German military leader in many years, reflecting deep concern about the security of Europe's eastern flank. His remarks come amid growing worries over NATO's readiness to defend its smaller, more exposed allies along the border with Russia. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland have all reported alleged Russian aggression in recent months, ranging from airspace intrusions to hybrid activities. This includes drone attacks and probing incidents that officials fear could serve as a prelude to a possible future incursion or escalation. NATO is planning a new command structure to speed up troop deployment to Latvia and Estonia, a reorganization intended to reduce delays and improve coordination so Allied forces can move faster to these frontline states if tensions escalate. The plan is aimed at bolstering allies in the event of a war with Russia, United 24 media reports, reflecting NATO's effort to reassure Baltic members by creating clearer, faster pathways for reinforcements during a high-intensity crisis. The German Netherlands Corps is set to take charge of defense operations for the two Baltic states, providing a dedicated, regionally focused headquarters with the experience and logistics to coordinate multinational forces on short notice. The setup would help NATO bring in mass at speed to the vulnerable region, officials say, enabling the alliance to concentrate substantial combat power quickly where it is most needed and thereby strengthen deterrence against potential aggression. An army corps typically commands 3 divisions, or about 40,000 to 60,000 troops, giving a sense of the scale of forces that such a command could coordinate and the operational weight it would represent in defense planning. The move would split responsibilities currently being handled by a single multinational headquarters, decentralizing command to create clearer lines of authority and faster decision-making during crisis response. Germany and the Netherlands are now working with NATO and partners to build up assigned forces, coordinating training, logistics, and prepositioning so the Corps can reach operational readiness and execute rapid deployments when called upon. It is still uncertain when the new plan will take effect or how many troops will be deployed, leaving key details pending as alliance leaders finalize command arrangements, force contributions, and timelines. The US has told NATO allies it plans to gradually reduce US military capabilities, signaling a deliberate shift in American force posture that would require partners to adapt to a smaller and more selective US contribution over time. Reports say the cuts would hit strategic bombers, fighter jets, drones, destroyers, and submarines, targeting a wide swath of high-end platforms whose reduced availability could reshape alliance deterrence and operational planning. Under the plan, the US fighter jet contribution to NATO would be reduced by about 1/3, a substantial decrease that would force allies to reassess air defense coverage, coalition surge capacity, and burden-sharing arrangements. The US Navy would also make fewer destroyers available, Politico reported on May 26, a move that could limit Allied access to critical surface combatant capabilities for air defense, escort, and maritime strike missions. Similarly, submarines would no longer be assigned to NATO under the new model, according to reports, removing a stealthy and strategically important undersea deterrent from routine Allied force packages. Europe would be expected to cover more of its own reconnaissance and defense requirements, taking on expanded responsibilities for intelligence collection, surveillance, and direct military missions closer to the continent. The move fits a broader US push to force European allies to take greater responsibility, reflecting Washington's strategic aim to rebalance transatlantic defense burdens and prompt higher defense spending and capability development in Europe. A NATO spokesperson has acknowledged the alliance's over-reliance on the United States, admitting publicly that members must diversify capabilities and deepen collaboration if the alliance is to maintain credible collective defense with reduced US support. Sweden's Parliamentary Defense Committee has warned that Russia could test NATO relatively soon if it believes conditions are favorable for such a move. The claim was reported by SVT, which cited findings from a new report released by Sweden's Parliamentary Defense Committee. The report said Moscow may strike a NATO member state if it calculates that the strategic and political conditions favor limited military action. Jörgen Berglund said, and I quote, "We can state that the security and political situation remains serious and is characterized by significant uncertainty. There is a risk of rapid deterioration with serious consequences for the security of Sweden and Europe." Unquote. Officials warned that Moscow's objective in such a scenario could be to test NATO's unity and the credibility of its Article 5 collective defense commitments. Analysts said Russia is already moving beyond traditional hybrid operations, including cyber attacks and influence campaigns against European states. Researchers said recent military activity in the Baltic region has shown signs that some governments interpret as preparation for potential future conflict. Experts have described Moscow's recent behavior as following patterns that preceded previous Russian military interventions in neighboring regions. Analysts identified the Suwalki corridor as the most likely location for limited NATO test because of its strategic vulnerability. The strategic 80-kilometer land gap links Poland and Lithuania while separating Russia's Kaliningrad enclave from Belarus. Meanwhile, EU officials confirmed that China trained hundreds of Russian soldiers, according to a report cited by RFE/RL. A senior EU official said some of those personnel later took part in combat operations during the war in Ukraine. The official said the training activities occurred at multiple locations inside China as military cooperation expanded. Reuters earlier reported that around 200 Russian troops were trained in China during the latter part of 2025. The training programs reportedly included instruction in drone warfare, electronic warfare, aviation operations, and armored combat tactics. EU intelligence services said some of the personnel who received training later fought in Crimea and the Zaporizhzhia region.
Russia is virtually the only country to stand in opposition to the so-called collective West in the form of the well-known North Atlantic Treaty Organization, known as NATO. After all NATO countries, without exception, are making every effort and doing everything in their power to organize these hostilities against Russia, to wage, as they believe, a war against Russia that has been launched with the aim of securing a victorious outcome. No one has ever managed to inflict such a decisive, final defeat on Russia, because our people, as you rightly said, are united across nationalities and understand their responsibility to future generations, to our children and grandchildren. There are quite a few young people sitting here, and you, God bless, will also have grandchildren and so on, future generations. We must think about this. No one else needs Russia but us. Only we are able to defend it, strengthen it, and create the conditions for its confident development. Everyone comes to us and joins forces, including in terms of intellectual contributions. We must acknowledge that NATO countries are highly developed in terms of technology and science. They have a highly developed economy. They are trying to inflict a strategic defeat on us. They tried. Now they realize that this is impossible. This is a task that cannot be accomplished. They went too far. They rushed things when they announced it publicly. Some even joined NATO to get a slice of the pie. If there were no cameras, I'd show you what they'd achieve in this situation with that gesture you all know so well. They won't achieve anything. We need to stay one step ahead. There are a lot of them, a whole lot of them, and we are one, a united, multinational force.